Welcome to Milo's Mods, ladies and gentlemen. So this is another episode of Blaster Chat. This episode is about tools. Yeah, that's right, tools. I'm not talking about the totally useless people that people call tools, but that's another horse of another color. But let's begin, shall we? What does what I mean by this is keep in mind you have to have your blasters ready at all times, or if you're going to an event, you'll want to take some tools with you to help you out in case your blaster fails and you have to maintenance it on the spot or whatever. So the things that I bring to an event, and keep this in mind, everybody's jam is different. I mean, everybody has a certain blaster that they love that they bring to an event. Like for me, it would be my Saber or my Harrier. I mean, that's just how it is. So certain things that I would bring to an event for my blasters would be an extra barrel, an extra spring, an extra saber spring, things like that. That's just the main supplies. Now, if I have to fix my blaster while I'm there, then this guy comes out. Inside this guy here, and keep this in mind, you can buy whatever type of tools you want to maintenance your blasters. But the thing is, if you buy cheap tools, that's exactly what you're going to get, cheap tools. And when I say that, if you buy like a cheap screwdriver, you're more or less going to be guaranteed to strip the screws out. And a lot of the screws nowadays that come on Chinese blasters or come on any blaster, they have a lot of nickel in them. Well, nickel's a softer metal, and it makes the screws not as good a quality as they used to be. Because the screws back in the day, they didn't have as much nickel in them as they do now, but they're trying to save the steel, so they're cutting it more with nickel, is what it is. So, but as I said, there's some of the things that I bring to fix my blasters while I'm there, if I need to, is a good number 1 and a number 0 screwdriver. Seriously. With Teflon tape, because like on the Harrier, when you change out your barrel, the threading on it, it's much easier to put Teflon tape around it and you'll get yourself a better seal. And with the Springer, it's all about the seal. Electrical tape, of course. Now, if you have to custom cut your springs, you're going to want one of these. This is just a cheap measuring tape for like a sewing kit. And you measure out whatever length of spring you need, you put it down, you clip it. Now, to cut a spring, I use these bolt cutters. These bolt cutters will cut through a K14 spring. They'll cut through a 18K spring. They've even been known to cut through 30 kilogram springs. They're very nice to have, but this is like a $80 tool, okay, or more. This is a snap-on pair of bolt cutters. Another thing that you want to have is a decent O-ring kit like this one. This kit's not bad. It's not great either. This is just like a cheap one that I picked up off of Amazon when I was in a hurry one time. But as you can see, multiple different O-rings. When you buy an O-ring kit, and you people are going to say, well, there's 2 listings. There's one for standard, one for metric. Always pick up the one for metric. You want metric rubber O-rings. Now, there's kits that are much bigger than this. This is like a small kit. There's ones that go all the way up to 35 millimeter O-rings. And some blasters take O-rings that big. Another thing you want to carry is a good hex key set. Okay, because a lot of the blasters like the Harrier, the Seagull, and a lot of other blasters, they're actually switching away from Phillips head screws to hex keys. Okay, you want to keep that way. You also want a couple nice picks. A couple decent picks, and the reason being is when you change out your O-rings, it's much easier to slide a pick in to remove the O-ring and install a new one than to very simply try to sit there and fuss with it for 5 minutes. No, you don't have time for that shit. Other thing that you want is a very good pair of needle nose. Now, these are very nice needle nose for one reason. Most needle nose, they only have like two positions. This one's got three. Okay? Granted, these are Snap-on needle nose. These are like $80, but they're definitely well worth the price. And of course, bigger screwdrivers, things like that, and on like sabers, they have a barrel nut, which is used to center the barrel and all that. That's why I have this guy. Okay, this is just a simple, cheap crescent wrench, But when you have to maintenance a blaster, you want to have these things with you at all times. You really do. Like before I go to an event, this is one of the things that gets packed straight away, without a shadow of a doubt. That's what gets packed. As far as lubricant, it depends on what things I'm bringing, but usually because I run Springers, Super Lube all day long. It's either that or if I have slug slime, I'll use that. But slug slime is just like Super Lube watered down almost. And if I'm running HPA, this is airsoft oil. You could get that at any airsoft paintball shop, Now, on some blasters, it actually pays to use thread locker, such as on like a Saber, on the Pusher and stuff like that. You want to use thread lock. Okay, this is red thread lock. Now, there's several types of thread lock to use. The best kind that I've used, it's blue and it's in a stick form. Okay, and it's just really simple to use. It definitely is the bee's knees to use. It's in a stick form and it's like $10 or whatever. It works really well. Now, one of the other things that people have talked about is, well, what kind of screws do you use? Like that. And like a lot of the blasters that I get, it's almost criminal that they just give you just enough screws for the blaster. Now, one of the good things about like Saber blasters or worker blasters even is that they all use like a common thread pitch, like 12 by 1.5 or whatever, or 3 millimeter or whatever, or M3 or M4, and you could very easily, most of the time, take one of the screws to your local hardware store, match it up and say, hey, give me 10 of these and they'll sell them to you. That's just it though. You have to have proper tools to do the job to maintenance your blaster, or else your blaster's going to fail and then you're going to fail. And I don't like to fail, but y'all can do what you want on that one. But a lot of people though, they say, well, I'll buy a $200 blaster, but yet I'll buy my screwdrivers at the dollar store. Okay, that's good on you for thinking about saving money, but you're going to hurt yourself in the long run because that cheap $1 screwdriver or the screwdriver that you got in a kit for $4 even, or $1.25 or whatever it is nowadays, it's going to strip out your screws and then you're screwed, for lack of better terms. And I've seen it many a times. I had a picture from a guy a couple weeks ago, sent me pictures of his Harrier. He stripped out his screws. Although what he did was kind of weird, and I'm not sure why he did it. In the back of a Harrier shell, there's heat inserts, actual nuts that are inset into the plastic, okay? Well, the screws go through the shell and then into the heat insert nuts. Everybody knows that. Well, this guy didn't. He put them in backwards. Yeah. So, of course, they're only going to go in so far before they strip out and they break. That's what happened with him, and as far as getting out a strip screw, it's not an easy thing. It's not pleasurable. It's not an easy experience, I'm going to tell you. That's why, like, if you get a brand new blaster like a Harrier or a Seagull or whatever, and you're taking it apart to tune it, I always suggest turn it just a little bit to tighten it, and then back it off, and then turn the screw out to take it out of the blaster. The reason being is a lot of times, even if they're put in there with like a little bit of thread locker, when you go to tighten it, you're going to break that thread lock just enough to where you can unscrew it. Really simple tricks. Really, really simple. I mean, and you can buy whatever quality tools you want, but keep this in mind, and I cannot stress this enough. If you buy cheap, that's what you're going to get. You know, I mean, you can do whatever you want. You know, it's your money after all, but if you buy cheap, that's what you're going to get. If you buy a quality tool for your job's going to be better. You know what I mean? It's going to be more of a pleasurable experience. You know, and everybody's toolkit's going to be slightly different. Like if you are modding flywheelers mainly, you're going to have a lot of solder, a lot of you're gonna have a soldering iron. You're gonna have lots of motors, lots of cages, lots of wheels. You know, micro switches and wiring for days. You know, that's the kind of stuff you're gonna have. But me, I do springers mainly, so this is the kind of stuff that I would have in a springer kit. You know, but in any event, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this episode of Blaster Chat, the right tools for the job. Until next time, this is Miller's Mods signing off.